podcast is
listening to Bruno Mars' greatest hits.
I know, we just caught him on the Golden Show. This is the Golden Debate Show, WinterDie.com. Like, comment, share, and download. This is the news, the topics. We get to eat around here to win. Trying that golden knowledge. Why you over there smirking, kidding, twitting, and you ain't participating?
For his investors, it's critical for Sprock.
That ain't God.
And right now,
I think you scared Sally away, too.
There's something wrong with the arithmetic. He has assembled a team to track.
Golden Debate Show. Tony in the building.
We always in the building. Like, comment, share, and download.
The Golden Debate Show. Yeah, the Golden Debate Show. Golden Show. Wow. Golden Debate Show. We gon' talk about this, talk about that. The Golden Debate Show. Yeah, the Golden
2 Minute News is back, but we didn't catch him because he didn't upload in time.
Word. La noticia de 2 minutos de YouTube. Acá para atrás.
The Golden Debate Show, WinterDie.com.
So it looks like Obama will once again, hopefully, try to clamp down on some of the
Young Turk clip. Okay, I had to see what this was. Then we're going to get into no gender points. Then we're going to get into a Joe Rogan clip. We're going to keep it moving. Go to the debate show with WinterDie.com.
Like,
and we don't
comment,
know
share,
that
and
he'll actually be
download.
able to
Send
do
the
it. He has tried in the
love.
past, or at least said that he's trying. But it looks like they are going to once again attempt to clamp down on that. Now, if you don't understand this, so basically there is a fairly high tax rate of, well, fairly high, of 35% when foreign profits are brought back to the U.S., which is why they don't bring it back to the U.S. They hide it in foreign accounts. The chairman of the White House Council of Economic Advisors said that some U.S. businesses move profits into low-tax jurisdictions for reasons that have no economic benefit other than to avoid taxes, which should be clear, and such profit shifting is extensive. We're talking about a massive amount of money being hidden from lawful, legal U.S. taxation.
And of course, the response to that would be is that, as he says, there's no economic benefit other than
Hillary
avoid taxes.
It's almost too delicious to
Which is a very odd sentence.
Al Gore of the Chicago Carbon
Uncle Adam and
Exchange.
Uncle John.
Oh, God.
And
he told us, I quote,
Every bit of evidence I've seen persuades me that we are on a course leading to tragedy.
Suspect.
Well, my
Yeah,
friends,
for him in that carbon exchange.
that conference was in 1992.
Okay. Now, I pulled a number of clips from this, and just all kinds of crazy, dumb stuff. But I believe we need to listen to John F. Kerry explain science.
Yeah, right.
I think it's long, and when we get tired of it, we can stop at any moment because every second is insane. But this is very important. People need to know this man has a screw loose in his head, and he only probably has two holding the head onto his neck. This man, Lurch, this watermelon head is dumb.
The science of climate change is leaping out at us like a scene from a 3D movie.
All right.
Whoa.
Whoa! Oh, it's 3D!
It's warning us. It's compelling us to act.
I compel you to act.
And let there be no doubt in anybody's mind that the science is absolutely certain.
Are you ready? Do you think you can handle it, John? Of the science.
It's something.
Here comes the lion.
Something that we understand with absolute assurance of the veracity of that science.
Something we understand with the absolute assurance of the veracity of that science. Wow, Kerry, wow.
Bullshit. No one disputes some of the facts about it.
No one disputes some of the facts about it. Whoa! Who's writing this for him?
He is. I'm sure of it.
You're probably right. You're probably right.
An example is, when an apple separates from a tree, it falls to the ground.
Yes!
Not always.
No. He's comparing climate science with Newton's law, you see.
Yeah, I know he is, but what he just said is not true. I can pick an apple, it doesn't fall to the ground, and it separates. It separates from the tree.
You're right.
I grab it and pull it off.
Yes, we'll give you a point for that, John C. Dvorak. You now are on the board with 10 points.
We know that because of the basic laws of physics.
Aha!
No one disputes that today.
No one disputes that.
It's a fact. It's a scientific fact.
It's a fact.
Science also tells us that when water hits a low enough temperature, it's going to turn into ice.
And he can't even tell us what that temperature is, apparently. Just low enough.
When it reaches a high enough temperature, it's going to boil.
Aha!
No one disputes that.
I don't dispute that.
Science and common sense tell us if you reach out and put your hand on a hot cook stove, you're going to get burned.
Do you hear? Are you just playing a harmonica or are you listening?
I think he needs a little background music.
But I want to make sure you hear it.
I'm hearing it. He said you're going to get burned if you put your hand on a hot stove.
I can't imagine anybody who would dispute that either.
Depends how hot it is.
Well,
yeah, I don't know if it's that hot.
Depends on the actual,
It depends on the actual temperature of the stove.
There's a lot of variables in that.
Yes, I agree.
So, when thousands of the world's leading scientists and 5 reports over a long period of time.
Can I stop and ask you a question?
Of course. Yes, of course, please.
What is the point of this speech? If this other guy started ranting about this as 1992, and they've been apparently, I'm guessing, hounding the public ever since, year after year, that the end is near, where, this is the last year, it's irreversible, because all scientists agree it's irreversible. It's been irreversible apparently since 92. And it goes on. Why are you going over the same old boring ground once again? What is not convincing about this argument besides the illogic of it in general? But what do you think he's thinking here?
Well, a number of things. He
sounds desperate.
I think he's high, is what I think. I think he's stoned, and people are just making him do stuff. But he is such a egotistical, narcissistic megalomaniac that he gets. I think you're right. He writes this himself, and he says, "Watch me scare these motherfuckers into existence. I'm going to scare them so they want to be on board with climate change." Yeah, but it's only 50 school kids. I don't care. So I think this is a test run for him. He wants to see what gets picked up. For instance, this is the quote that some people picked up.
Or think about the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction. It doesn't keep us safe if the United States secures its nuclear arsenal while other countries fail to prevent theirs from falling into the hands of terrorists. We all have to approach this challenge together, which is why all together we are focused on Iran and its nuclear program, or focused on North Korea and its threat. The bottom line is this. It is the same thing with climate change. And in a sense, climate change can now be considered another weapon of mass destruction, perhaps even the world's most fearsome weapon of mass destruction.
That was overquoted everywhere.
Yeah. So that got picked up.
Yeah, that's kind of cute. He probably was proud of that one.
They didn't pick up on this one, which was the stupid mistake, which I thought was funny.
But the United States, simple reality, just as I talked about the scientific facts in the beginning, this is a fact.
Fact.
The United States cannot solve this problem or foot the bill alone.
Fact.
Even if every single American got on a bicycle tomorrow and carpool, instead of, or carpool to school instead of buses or riding in it.
Okay. Carrie, stick to your own script. Buses are better than carpooling. Why does he? If they carpooled instead of taking the bus? Okay. He can't go off prompter.
He obviously had to hear this fear in his voice when he said,
bad.
I am leaving the script now. I hope to get back.
Are the lone voices saying, maybe you should take a look at some of this? Along with Marsha Blackburn, who fought Bill Nye the Science Guy, the CEO of the Planetary Society, which pays him a nice $150,000 a year. That is, by the way, the society started by Carl Sagan. And I find it atrocious that this comedian is the CEO of that.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. I'm going to point out some other anomaly here. The same people that are all in on all this are the same people that criticize, for example, any like a Monsanto funded studies and all these Dow Chemicals funded studies, and there's all these studies done by these large corporations. Then there's the independent little study. You have 100 of these funded studies and one study that says the opposite, which nobody pays any attention to because it's not funded by anybody. They will be very adamant about, well, this is because these corrupt corporations are paying for all these studies,
the Koch brothers.
The one guy over here nobody's paying attention to is the science guy, who's a comic.
He actually started off as a comedian.
I thought he started off as an engineer at Boeing.
No. Hold on.
I think you're wrong.
Almost too delicious.
I'm going to do the obvious. Hello.
I'm going to do the obvious too.
Hello, obvious. The Book of Knowledge stopped working. What's going on? Uh-oh. Wow, this is no good.
Because I've got it up.
The computer just
American
froze.
science educator, comedian, television host, blah, blah, blah. Early life and education. Career. He began his career at Seattle at Boeing, where, among other things, he starred in training films and developed a hydraulic pressure resonance suppressor still used in the 747. Later, he worked as a consultant to the aeronautics industry. In 1999, he told the St. Petersburg Times that he applied to be a NASA astronaut every few years but was always rejected.
Yeah.
He began his professional
So did you know
entertainment
that
career
Bill
as
Nye
an
started
actor at a
off as an
local
actor and a
sketch comedy
comedian, and then he got
television show in Seattle
Andy
called
worked at
Almost
Boeing.
Live.
He invented
The
some
show,
type
by
of
the way, that
fuselage thing.
that was
Then he
always
became
funny.
Bill Nye the Science Guy.
It was a local version of Saturday Night Live that was actually funny.
He does kind of
He
look like
attempted to correct the show's host pronunciation of gigawatt as gigawatt.
Oh, okay.
And the host responded, "Who do you think you are, Bill Nye the Science Guy?" And Nye was thereafter known as such on the program.
Okay, but we can agree he is not a meteorologist.
We call it promiscuity. We call women who like to fuck sluts.
Now it's the
kids
Joe
who don't like to sit in a
Rogan
room for 8
Go to
hours a day.
GoldenDebateShow.
It's insane. We call guys who can't get a job because we've painted them into a corner in which there are no jobs drug dealers. Of course, they're fucking drug dealers. What else are you going to do on the streets of Baltimore if you're a black kid? I mean, what the fuck? I mean, it's. So,
how about this?
That pattern
How
plays
about you
out.
take a kid who's really smart and you force him to go to an internment camp for teenagers called high school, and then when he's there, you surround him with people who think he's a fucking
and then we'll have
asshole because he uses
karaoke.
big words.
Yeah.
You get he gets the shit kicked out of him every fucking day, psychologically or physically, by people who are probably a lot dumber than he is. And then during this time, he's got to sit in an uncomfortable fucking desk and have information jammed into his brain by people who aren't getting paid enough and who are like having to do this terrible tap dance for the federal government because they've created a testing system that makes it so that you're no longer trying to get people to absorb information and understand it. You just want them to memorize it so you get a high score so you keep your fucking job. And during that time, you start thinking, you know what? Something seems fucking wrong here. I don't feel good in this situation. I'm starting to feel like life sucks. Maybe I want to kill myself. You tell the guidance counselor that, and the guidance counselor says, no. You're just depressed. We're going to get some chemicals into your brain, and it's going to fix everything. So now you're medicated like somebody in a fucking lunatic asylum, and then during that time that you're medicated, your mind starts shattering because you begin to think, is this what life is? For the rest of my life, I'm going to have to be surrounded by people who are fucking monstrous, who are telling me that all I could hope to do is like work in a machine shop. Oh, I know. More jobs. There's more jobs because Obama's going to build more roads. That'll be a fun job for me, building the fucking roads, just like the slaves used to do in ancient Egypt. So you start going crazy, your mind starts melting down, and the next thing you know, you're wandering through the halls of your fucking high school shooting people. Whose fault is it? Is it the pharmaceutical companies? Is it the teachers? Is it the parents? Is it the fucking kid himself? It's just a perfect storm.
Or is it a perfectly logical result of those conditions?
Yeah.
It is. It'd almost be something wrong with you if you weren't depressed.
Right. You look at shamanic societies like the ones we all evolved in, they move toward mystery through their lives. They move closer to the rituals and the gods and the other world. It's a completely different trajectory.
It creates connection and it creates humility. When you're worshiping the gods, you're not just worshiping the gods. You're also offering up your own humility that you don't compare to the gods. When you're experiencing a hunter-gatherer lifestyle, you are getting the exact programming and rewards that your body has been set up to receive in order to stay alive forever. We're in a transitionary period with our bodies because our bodies have all these reward systems built in, and there's no need whatsoever to feed them. There's no need to feed the fight and flight. There's no need to feed the hunter-gatherer. There's no need. You're going to the supermarket and you're getting your food. You're going to work by sitting down all day. None of it makes sense to your body. Right. Your body is absolutely baffled. Right. And if you're not doing something that you absolutely love while you're sitting in that studio, whether designing something or art or whatever it is, I mean, you could conceivably obviously go to a job and it'd be the most amazing job ever. But if it's not the most amazing job ever, if you really are sitting there just doing nonsense that you don't give a fuck about all day, there's nothing like that in all of nature. Gathering food is exciting. Hunting is exciting. Fishing is exciting. Right. Planting crops is satisfying. If you pull a tomato off of a vine and you eat that tomato, there's a visceral, almost genetic excitement that you get from that. We're not getting any of those rewards all day long, but we're forcing ourselves to live in this way. It's not like living in a way where we would get those rewards would be impossible. It's just, it's not, society and it almost engineered itself to make it so that we can innovate and make new things easier and quicker. That's what society did. If you could tell someone that you're going to live a finite life, you only have this amount of, let's manage that life and let's see how you handle it. How much time do you think you'd spend sitting in a fucking box doing some shit you don't like? You wouldn't. You would spend none. You'd put 0 in the box. You would say, well, what percentage of your day do you want to sit down and do something you don't want? 0. Okay, well, when you're engineering your life to live for your needs, to exist for what would make you happy and what would make you like a person who's feeling satisfied and feeling like you're thrilled by life. But that's not what society wants. What society wants is to make sure that your reward system is going to be based on material items. Because if it's not based on material items, then we can't make more material items. Okay. We want to make sure that you always need the newest, craziest shit. So we're going to get you in a society where you're inundated by visual images of things that are way better than the things that you possess. And your main focus will be possessing those things because they will equate happiness to you. Of course, you'll never receive that happiness because if you did, you'd jump off the game. Right. So we're living our lives for this system more than we're living our lives for humanity. The system's tricking us.
Fuck, man, that was what my book was going to be about.
Spoiler! Flippy and Toad's gonna fight!
Don't fall for the fucking propaganda.
Really? That's real? You get abused? And I was like, these are the people that are calling themselves journalists. And
what is propaganda?
Somebody asked me, what is the pinnacle? What are you actually really trying to do in terms of journalism? And I thought to myself, I guess the idea should be to balance credibility and morality. And I couldn't think of any person who personifies more than that, not in this country in the New Zealand field, than yourself, Ian.
Well, that's very kind of you, Vinny. It's a big issue, I think, for journalism, basically. I'm not sure that we have our game quite right yet as a profession.
Although you could be, would be surprised that a lot of people within the profession certainly don't agree with you.
Yeah, well, I think the problem is this. I think that journalism has turned from a profession which it used to be into being an agenda-driven profession that sees itself as part of the establishment, virtually the marketing arm of the establishment, and the movement between journalism and PR these days is so wide that this sort of is an illustration, I think, of the problem that we face, because journalists are moving back and forth from news to PR, politics, left, right and centre. Just look at the Shane Taurima controversy. Here he was standing for Labour, or trying to stand for Labour, didn't make it, went back to news, ends up running Labour Party political meetings from within TVNZ's building. They should have seen that one coming.
Almost too delicious.
Well, and also there's MediaWorks. What was his name? Stephen Joyce was CEO of MediaWorks, and then he becomes the government communication minister, and then brokers like, what was it, a $30 or $40 million bailout in unpaid broadcasting fees that MediaWorks couldn't afford because the advertisers can't be bothered advertising with them because nobody watches them because they suck. All right, that's my interpretation. I could be wrong.
Yeah, the cynic in you. I mean, look, I think the problem with my fellow journalists is this. They see themselves as evangelists for various ideas and theories, and they go out there and they print this stuff unquestioningly. You look at their stand on vaccination, on fluoride, on food additives, a range of things that the media should be far more questioning about, and they're just not.
Incidentally, one of them objected to me posting a video of Dr. Laurie Brett, who's a fairly well-known dentist in this country, up in Whangarei, who's quite got amazing credibility when it comes to questioning the science behind fluoride, or the lack thereof. And what one of these journalists criticised me for is putting up his version, Dr. Laurie's version, and not counterbalancing it with.
So I'm talking to Mike, and operations manager for Free Domain Radio, and I said, I don't think I've ever done a show on evil. He's like, no.
What are you tweeting over there,
You must have done a show on evil. You are a philosopher.
Over here jotting down some
really?
ideas.
2,600, 2,700
Someone's up in this game, Wisconsin's up on Iowa.
I really don't think I have. I think I've referenced it.
Yeah, they over
This kid's still fedoraed
I
up.
believe I have defined it clearly, and I think we could well argue.
He's rocking a fedora for Pompelli.
As a philosopher, it might be a good idea. So let's do it. Let's do that show on evil. So, the first thing to understand about evil is that evil must have some knowledge of virtue. I know we should be defining evil at the beginning, but this is how it's going to work. It really will work this way. Trust me. And hopefully I will prove that trust. Otherwise, never trust me again. Evil must know something about virtue for it to be evil. Right? Therefore, evil requires knowledge. Now, this solves the problem, which is why is a lion not evil when it eats you? Well, because the lion doesn't know anything about self-ownership, property rights, non-aggression principle, all that kind of good stuff. Right? So, evil requires knowledge of virtue. So, if we have that established as a principle, then of course we have to define what virtue is, and then we have to define what evil is. So virtue, universally preferable behavior. For more on that, see my free book at freedomainradio.com/free. So it has to be something that is a universally preferable behavior for it to be virtuous. I like jazz, subjective, beyond time, aesthetic preference, but don't murder is objectively and universally preferable behavior for reasons that I go into in the book. So I'm a kind of chapter 1. So that's what virtue is. Evil is using universally preferable behavior to violate universally preferable behavior. It is using desires to achieve its opposite. It is forcing people to choose between a hierarchy of values that is lose-lose, where the best they can hope for is the lesser of a series of evils. So, to take an example, I'm a mugger. I'm not a loser, baby, so why don't you kill me? I am a mugger. So I slide up to you in an alley, put a gun to your ribs, and say, "Give me your wallet." Well, why is this evil? I mean, UPB's got its own answers, but I'll just talk about some of the ways we can get there anyway. There's a phenomenon called death by cop, where a suicidal person will provoke the cops into shooting him. I guess, or occasionally her. I think it's mostly him.
Yep, we're over here beating the zone.
In which case the person wants to be shot. Now, if there's someone on his way to death by cop, they want someone to shoot them, and the mugger says, "Give me your wallet or I'll shoot you," then the guy will not give the wallet, will taunt the mugger, will attempt to provoke the mugger into shooting him. That's not what the mugger wants. The mugger doesn't want to murder. The mugger wants the wallet. Right? If the mugger wanted to murder, he would shoot you from a distance, right? Poison your soup or whatever. But he doesn't want to murder. He wants the money. So the mugger
Science
is a mugger because he believes that people will choose life over property. But given the choice, they would not want to choose between the two. Right? So if the mugger was standing on a subway grate and the subway grate gave way and the mugger vanished and didn't hurt you, you would be relieved, right? Because you would then not be in the situation where you have to choose your money or your life. So the mugger is mugging because of the proposition that people will prefer to.
So I was doing a little bit of research into why there's golden tops on top of some buildings, mostly state capitals and religious buildings and stuff. And a lot of that tradition comes actually from Russia, and it's called the Onion Dome. And the Onion Dome, Russian, is a dome whose shape resembles an onion. Such domes are often larger in diameter than the drum upon which they sit, and the height usually exceeds their width. These bullion structures taper smoothly to a point, and is usually in the form of churches and state capitals. Art historians disagree on when and why onion domes became a typical feature of Russian architecture. Okay, so this is interesting. Prior to the 18th century, the Russian Orthodox Church did not assign any particular symbolism to the exterior shape of a church. Nonetheless, onion domes are popularly believed to symbolize burning candles. In 1917, noted religious philosopher Prince some guy argued that the onion shape of the Russian church domes may not be explained rationally. But most of them are painted gold. The domes are often brightly painted. Their colors may informally symbolize different aspects of religion. Blue, green, and gold domes are sometimes held to represent the Holy Trinity, the Holy Spirit, and Jesus. Respectively, black ball-shaped domes were once popular in the snowy north of Russia. And when you look up gold symbolism, gold, both the color and object, symbolize justice. Gold symbolizes power, strength, and perfection. The ancients used gold to symbolize balance in all things, as in the golden mean. Eminent orators such as John Christensen once said to have a mouth of gold with a silver tongue. Gold is associated with notable anniversaries, particularly in 50-year cycles, such as golden wedding anniversaries and golden jubilee. In biblical symbolism, gold has been associated with the extremities of almost evil and pure good. In the book of Exodus, the golden calf is a symbol of ideology and rebellion against God. On the other hand, in the book of Genesis, Abraham was said to be rich in gold and silver, and Moses was instructed to cover the mercy seat of the ark in the covenant with pure gold. One of three wise men gave gold as a gift to Jesus when he was born. So keep it gold. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but I know a belief is that the Capitol buildings in the U.S. have gold domes because that's where presidents came from, those states, but when you do research, that ain't good or true. But, yeah, there's a lot of gold domes, and I like it. I believe that it had to do with your pineal gland. When you do a lot of deep research, your pineal gland sits in the crown of your dome, and it symbolizes when you reach 12 grand golden activation that you become golden in the pineal. Golden dome. So let's get it in. earlymorningmob.com. Like, comment, share, and download.
Those sunken bullion ships, and many from bygone wars, prove irresistible to companies like Odyssey Marine. No story about gold is complete without a treasure hunt. It's all very modern. Odyssey is
the obvious threat to untold numbers of citizens, and because of the crisis which is even now developing, this radio station will remain on the air day and night. This station and hundreds of other radio and TV stations throughout this part of the country are pooling their resources through an emergency network hookup to keep you informed of all developments.
No suit metal. Golden Debate Show, GoldenShow, earlymorningmob.com. Like, comment, share, download.
Nice.
We keep free thought alive. Golden Show, earlymorningmob.com.
Slashing down the
wake up over there, kid.
Give me the assist.
Talking about all that talking like this, like that, all day in your hood. Golden shows, golden roads, strobe lights, laser lights. Look at my gold, tripping tonight, happy shit. Early morning, tone it up, notice it. We're talking like this, talking like that. We're talking we're talking Golden Debate Show, Golden Debate Show, Golden Debate Show. We like this, we're talking hood, draw the line, and you better talk with big chat. You know we're coming out the best. Golden Show, Golden Robes, Golden Boss, Golden Strokes, Golden